Welcome back. Taking the discussion on securing assets further, I have with me the head of security at PepsiCo India region, Colonel Harendra Bana, and partner and leader Forensic Services PwC India, Dinesh Anand. Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you, Prashant.
Dinesh, if I were to start with you, what is your view on the physical security aspect and how that landscape has evolved and is at the moment?
I think today's day and age, corporates have realized that the fundamental thing which they need to provide is a safe and secure work environment for their people. Today, I think no corporate wants to be seen as a soft target. All are taking measures or are in the process of taking measures whereby they can, improve the existing physical security framework as well as response mechanism.
Colonel Bana, coming to you, which physical security threats do you see growing in the future?
It's irrespective of the nature of industry, whether it's an IT industry or an FMCG or a manufacturing, wherever we are, we have a threat of physical security. And it's going to remain with us as long as we have our offices and our manufacturing hubs and our factories. The important thing that's getting compounded over here is an insider threat, which is now gradually emerging. And what we need to see is that in an era where everything gets managed into a laptop, where we carry our complete data into one laptop, it's more important that we manage our insider threat a lot better. And insider threat would mean that are we looking at the people we hire? Now, with the radicalization which is happening across, we need to be a little more careful on the kind of people we are hiring. We need to be, we see a lot of data theft happening. We see a lot of issues in terms of IP issues. We see a lot of infringement issues. They may not be happening everywhere externally. When you see a case of people changing companies, they also move along with their piece of data and a lot of other things that they have managed.
Today, I think if you take the Western world, in the Western world, background screening of employees is more than 90% of the employees employed are being screened. I think in India it's less than 5%. So in India, no company wants to spend money, and even the ones which are doing, majority of the time are running it more as a process.
In terms of sectors, where do you see these threats emerging the most?
So I think in today's day and age, it'll be wrong to say no sector is less vulnerable. But saying that some of your critical infrastructure sectors would be more at risk. So you take oil and gas, you take transportation, you take your communication. Besides that, of course, you take your nuclear facilities, you take buildings which have strategic locations, they continue to be at high risk. I think in today's environment, everybody is at risk. So you even have softer target places, which could be, places where people go to worship. There could be social gathering events which are taking place, malls, cinema halls, So today I think physical security is no longer just limited to a workplace. It's something which, encompasses everywhere. And I think the person who wants to do damage is actually looking for more areas where people will not expect something like this.
In terms of what corporates can do, Dinesh, what can they really do and what should they be doing to mitigate some of these risks?
So I think in today's day and age, firstly, it's better to be prepared than to, regret later. That's one of the key things. So obviously, when you look at having to mitigate the risk, your any good effective physical security program should be built around 4 pillars. So it should encompass your people, technology, infrastructure, and you should have a robust process. So obviously what you need to have is a control mechanism which can detect, deter, and respond to any incident which takes place.
Once we train our people, we need to be investing in training. That's a key area for us, and that's an area where the moment we do it from us, and then the training part goes into 2 different spectrums. That I always believe that when we have our own security, we are not the only guardians of it. Maybe each employee should be owning 1% of the security stake in the company.
I think I just want to add out here, firstly we've got to do away with the attitude that something like this cannot happen to me. So I think first we have to change that mindset that, I'm, immune from something like this to happen. Second is really we've got to think the same way as an attacker. So we need to think, I'm the attacker. What are the areas which are going to be most vulnerable? Once I've identified those vulnerabilities, I need to be able to mitigate them. And once I've mitigated them, I'm automatically crisis ready.
In terms of travel, which is such an integral part of business, right?
Understand.
More and more number of business people are traveling, flying.
True.
How do you secure that?
A lot of our travel, a lot of our business actually depends on safe travel. And today, when our people travel, the onus lies on the company also that when an employee is working on a particular assignment, the company gets him a safe travel policy and a safe travel process where he is safe and his family is reassured. When they face an issue of the nature of what we saw in the recent coup, the companies have worked across different companies, have leveraged each other MNCs to ensure that if they don't have a presence in Istanbul or if they don't have a presence in a significant geography, the other counterparts are there to help him and support him and get him the required help.
So when an incident does happen, I mean, as it will inevitably, what does one do to kind of better the response function that corporates have? One is avoiding it, but the other is responding to an incident.
Everybody needs to have is a sort of a holistic, have a holistic viewpoint, have an integrated platform which basically integrates all the various feeds which come in, so that at any given time you are able to detect and respond to any incident. So what basically this will do is that it will enable a company to have the right people at the right time and at the right place to be able to deal with any crisis.
There's been a radical change in how we've seen risk and how we've seen threat after 26/11. A lot of companies earlier would have the admin and the security function together. It was the same person was doing the admin job, the same person, and security was always the younger brother of the admin function. A lot of companies after 26/11 have realized that security is a core function within itself and have created roles within their own organizations, and that's exactly similar to the roles that I have within my organization in PwC, where you have a separate vertical which is independent of admin, and a lot of investment where companies and corporates have started realizing that this is a critical piece where we need to invest, and that's where we see a lot of young officers and young aspiring CSOs now coming in and taking up security as a full-time career. It's a very positive shift which is happening.
Where do you see the function headed, Bana, really?
It was a career of choice for all the defense people. That's undergone a huge radical shift. In one of my companies where I worked, I had hired 17 freshers who were all computer graduates, and they were working across managing a command center for Southeast Asia. Why did they join security? I couldn't really understand it. It just gave them an opportunity to see a new technology, and because they were all IT savvy, that's what the young generation is, they said that it excited them.
Any closing thoughts in terms of how this entire scenario will evolve going forward?
Basically, going forward, what you're going to see is that physical security information management systems, which are basically platforms where everything is integrated, will become the backbone. And unless and until you have that, you will not be able to have a successful physical security framework in place. I think that's going to be the key going forward.
Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me on this discussion. That was quick.
Yeah, Ma, don't worry. I'm driving on a new expressway and it's absolutely safe.